dodge this.
One world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition. It is January 13th, 2015. What am I going to be talking about on tonight's live edition of DTRH here at TFR, good old Truth Frequency Radio? Thank you, Chris and Cherie, for everything you guys do for all of us. Great broadcasting platform. So, what is my topic of discussion for this evening? Could it be the terrorist attacks in France? My God, be scared, man. Oh my God, there's ninja-looking Foot Clan outfit adorned terrorists running around. They couldn't be military sponsored by any means, could they? No, they've definitely just Muslim extremists. That's the answer, because that makes total sense, even though it doesn't make total sense. Right, so, am I going to talk about that? No. I might touch on it a little bit, but not really. I'm not going to get into what happened. Oh my God, is this a fact? Is it not a fact? Was that a foot? Was it not a foot? Is it a crisis actor? Is it not a crisis actor? No, not getting into that tonight. I'm not getting into that. I'm not going to get into any of that stuff. Any of the other stuff. I mean, I might touch on a few things here and there, but I'm only going to slightly touch on it to point something out or prove a point, not to get into detail and be like, I'm going to expose what happened. I know it was a false flag. You don't even have to come and scream and shout that it's a false flag anymore. I mean, it's just so blatantly obvious. This stuff happens at the most convenient times for these people being the powers that shouldn't be, not the poor people that were killed, right? I'm not even going to get into the details of that thing. Or about Obama with the cybersecurity thing. Just as he's talking about cybersecurity, supposedly ISIS, the same scary Foot Clan from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle looking characters. Really, I mean, this is who we're supposed to be afraid of. And again, there was a warning put out to American soldiers. Be careful, we're coming for your families. Be afraid. Boo. Boo. Scariness. Boo. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, I don't even have to fight. It's so insane, I don't have to sit here and woodshed any of it. That's how insane it is. Besides, there's enough people talking about that stuff. I think I need to balance it out and point out some solutions and try to give you guys at least an insight from my perspective. Perhaps it'll help you. I've been through a lot lately, and some of that insight is what I'm going to give out, dispense for free to all of you this evening. So what am I going to be talking about? Defeating fear and darkness with love and light. That's what I'm going to be discussing with you tonight. Defeating fear and darkness with love and light. Oh my God, Popeye, is this some New Age crap? No. It is not New Age. This is not New Age crap. I'm just speaking truth to you. I'm just being honest and straightforward with you tonight. That's all. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to blow some smoke up your ass and try to offer you a solution for $19.95 plus shipping and handling. That's not how I roll. That's not how anybody here at Truth Frequency rolls. I want to come on and just give you a straight up perspective from me, how I see things right now. My analysis of what's going on. And I'm going to give you what I think from tons of research and just from doing it and knowing it's effective. I'm going to give you positive real world solutions. I'm not going to run around and tell you to blow fairy dust out into the air and wish things and it's going to happen like The Secret or something, okay? Oh, run around rainbows and unicorns, yay, and fairy dust. Yay, life is a wonderful place. No, this world is dark and scary. Let's face it, let's be honest. It's a very dark and scary place right now. Looks like everything is just on this huge downward spiral, like the whole planet, just mass insanity. It is. It's controlled chaos. It's being done on purpose. Because out of chaos, order. Isn't that their motto? Order out of chaos. That's what they're doing. They create the chaos, ladies and gentlemen. They create all of it on so many different levels. That's the game that's being played. A lot of times we get bogged down in the minutia. Well, this person said this. Get them. This group did this. Get them. Look, a false flag terror attack. Get them. Sometimes we have to take a step back and see the bigger picture so we can understand maybe where some of us need to refocus our energy. Sometimes it's like we're chasing our tails. Everybody's afraid right now. Everybody is scared out of their minds. I understand it. I totally get it. You don't think I understand the fear? You don't think I understand what it's like to feel disconnected from your fellow humans? Let me share a piece of perspective with you that maybe many of you don't know, the newer listeners, or even if you do, unless you've gone through what I've gone through, you don't understand how one feels. So, as many of you know, some of you might just be discovering for the first time, I lost my wife back in October of last year, of 2014, to a sudden asthma attack. And the loss of my best friend and my wife, I mean, Merce was everything to me. She was like a force of nature. I've described her before in the past. If you've never heard the show before, go back and look. It's called The Legacy of Merce. It's in my archives. You can go look it up. And my whole world came crumbling down. I mean, I felt disconnected from every human being, even my friends. Unless you've lost a spouse, it's kind of hard to, and you could say, oh, I get it, but it's hard to explain this. So I lost my connection to every other human being on this planet, even you all. Even when I would come on, like a month later I came on and I would do a show maybe once a week or something. It took all of my energy, all of my physical energy. You can ask Joe, Chris. I literally would have to go sleep for a couple hours after I came on air, even if it was for 20 or 30 minutes the first couple times, because it would just drain me. It would physically drain me. I felt disconnected from all my friends, everybody, you guys. I couldn't express how I felt. And I was in a very dark place and very, I don't want to say lonely because that word gets misused, but maybe lonesome. I don't know if that's the proper terminology. It was just, I've been a loner my whole life, but this was different. I felt disconnected from everyone. I couldn't connect to another human being. So I understand how humanity feels, because that's what the powers that shouldn't be are doing, right? They're making everybody disconnect from one another on so many levels. They have everybody divided, arguing over politics, sexuality, political beliefs, this, that, the other thing. Doesn't matter. Everybody's fighting. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Fear, 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 fear. Right? So, everybody's divided. Everybody's afraid to connect. And then all this crazy stuff happens in the world. ISIS, woo! The Foot Clan from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies is coming to get us, woo! Ebola, woo! Terrorist asteroids. Al-Qaedaoids, as we've called them. Look out, the terrorist asteroids are working with the extremist Muslims to take out the Christians and wipe out America! Fear! Right, all these contrived things, no matter what it is. Doesn't matter where it happens in the world. Right now, it used to be like one bad thing would happen, and then a month would go by and another bad thing would happen. And then maybe another couple months would go by and something else. Now it's like one after the other, after the other, after the other. Planes crashing, wars, bombings, terrorism, disease, famine, economic collapse. Fear, 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 be afraid. Ooh. No, don't be afraid. See, they're doing that on purpose. It's controlled chaos. It's to get everybody disconnected, to get you to feel how I felt, how widows and widowers feel when they lose their spouse, disconnected from the whole planet. They want you to unplug. It's hard for them to just walk up and unplug you themselves. Because just like the frogs in the pot, if you put the frogs into boiling hot water, the frogs are going to be like, F this, I'm out of here. This is hot water. So they have to convince you to unplug yourself. That's the genius of their plan. Everything that they do, the genius is that they convince you to do it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the genius of their plan. They convince you to be afraid. They convince you to police yourselves. They convince you to separate yourselves from your next door neighbor, your loved ones, your friends, your family. Anybody else that could be a possible friend. They get you to separate yourself. Believe me, I understand the urge. When my wife first died, I was completely, like I said, I was unplugged from the whole planet. Okay, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I had people messaging me, sympathy, this, that, oh, Popeye, blah, 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 blah. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was disconnected. I was in a very sad, angry, scared place. I was lost. I understand how it feels to feel that way, humanity. I get it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm speaking directly to every single one of you. No matter what your profession is, no matter who you are, we all feel the same feelings. Okay? Police act the way they do because of programming and because of fear. Because they have the fear vibe instilled in them. That's why they act the way they do, and they act out because of fear. You guys should not be acting on fear. The people who hate the police are afraid of the police and what they do. Therefore, they are angry at them. That's what drives them to stop it. That fear, the need to protect themselves from it. Fight or flight. I'll get into more on that with Bruce Lipton in a bit. Got some clips to play for you. Controlled. Do you understand? You're kept in protection mode, not growth. We only operate in two modes, growth or protection. Love or fear. You're kept in fear and darkness, and you're held down. And again, I understand it, trust me. Okay? And I have widows and widowers that are listeners to the broadcast. They understand what I'm talking about. They do. But here's the key. Here's the key. And just then I'll use a piece of my personal life, because that seems to be what resonates more with most people than anything. So I don't have a problem using it if it betters humanity. To a certain degree, anyway. So I thought I was lost. I didn't think. I knew I was lost. I was lost. I was in a place of darkness. I had no reason. It was hard for me to get the urge to even come on air and talk to you guys. And it wasn't depression. Wasn't that. It was something different. It was just, I was disconnected. Dejected, if you will, however you want to say it. I was completely unplugged from everyone around me. Even my friends who I would talk to on the phone, I was still unplugged from them to a certain extent. I was unplugged from all of you for like a month and a half. Both physically and then even mentally and emotionally somewhat. I would say, I mean, how many times did I come on air the first couple times and say, yeah, I'm trying to get back up to my A game. I'm only firing at about 85% right now. Well, I really meant I was only firing at about 85% because it took everything in me to come on and talk to you guys. So I understand how it feels to be afraid and be at your breaking point. Luckily, I have very good friends. Luckily, I have people that I'm very close with that love me and aren't afraid to show me that. And tell me that it's okay to be upset and that, hey, we love you no matter what. See, that's what being a good human to each other is about. That's how we defeat this, is showing each other love, not being afraid to show each other love. Not being able to do it is what's causing us problems, but not being afraid to do it is what's going to break us free. Now, it's not going to be the end-all, be-all solution, and suddenly, I love you. Poof! Everything is better. It took time to get bad, and it's going to take time to fix it, but the only way it's going to fix it if it's done with the undercurrent of love and light and not fear and darkness. One of my close friends, I would say probably my closest, best female friend ever on this planet, okay? If it weren't for her, I know Jamie's listening, I know you're listening. If it weren't for her, I don't know if I'd have the strength right now to come on air and talk to you guys. I don't know if I'd be in that frame of mind because she helped me get through a very dark spot. She didn't ask for anything in return. She just showed me love, as friends do. She was there for me when I needed her. She got me back up and into the saddle again. You could even say if it weren't for her, I might not even be having this conversation with you right now. Who knows, right? She helped me get my perspective back on track. And why? Because she saw a friend in need. She wasn't afraid to say, hey, you need an ear? You need to talk to somebody? I'm here. I'd probably talk her ear off, make her ears bleed talking about my wife and everything else. She doesn't care. Maybe if all of us took that attitude with each other, talk to your neighbor, your friends. How about you be a better friend to your friends? When your friends are upset, instead of not talking to them, well, I don't know what to say to that person. How about you just let them know that you're there and you love them, and if they need you, bam. You'd be surprised. You'd be absolutely surprised the effect you could have on somebody. I speak from my own personal experience. I share this with you because if maybe you see what I've gone through, and many of you know that I've been through some really hard times lately, and yet I can still see the light at the end of the tunnel. I can still climb out of hell, as Pacino says in the Inches speech that I play. Right? Inch by inch. Second by second. If I can do it, there's no excuse for the rest of you that you can't do it. I don't want to hear, oh, I can't do it, Popeye. I'm afraid. I don't know what to do. You know what? I was afraid, lonely too. And again, all it took was someone coming along and showing me a little bit of love. That's it. Maybe if we all did that to each other and weren't so afraid, oh, the L word, we can't love human beings. That's taboo. You can't show love to a fellow human being. That's the problem with this world. Nobody takes care of each other. They see a homeless guy on the street, screw him. He's not my friend. Maybe I'll throw him $1. Because throwing money at it always solves the problem. That's why I'm here talking to you guys. That's why I do this show. Just like she was there to pull me out of the darkness and slap me around a little bit and get me back on track. Say, come on, the world needs you. Let's go. Let's get her done. Well, I'm doing the same thing to you. I'm trying to wake you guys up and realize that, hey, I better than many people can understand why the world is so afraid and so alone and so dejected and disconnected. But I am surviving, and I'm making it through. So if I share my personal experiences with you, maybe, just maybe, the world will be a better place. Maybe you can learn from seeing me go through this. And if the world changes for the better, then so be it. But that's how we beat it. It's really simple. That's how we get through all this. And I'm going to get deeper into things and discuss what I meant about growth versus protection and all that stuff. But it's really simple. And I wanted to share this first and foremost. This needed to be thrown out there, and it needed to be talked about and aired. It needed to be said. It's that simple. Why do you think they pump fear out on the airwaves all the time, ladies and gentlemen? Why do you think they scare the crap out of you? Why? Why? Tell me why they scare the crap out of you. Because they don't want you to live in love. They want you to live in the fear frequency. It's one of two options. Hate isn't the opposite of love. The opposite of love is fear. Hate comes from the fear, and it's usually bred by ignorance and fear. But it's a byproduct of it. Hate is actually not the opposite of love. Fear is. And that vibrational frequency is what's put out there. Be afraid. Al-Qaeda. The Foot Clan from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series is going to come get you. Ooh. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Let me tell you something. I faced my worst fear, and I came through it. Okay? I came through my worst fear. Try losing your spouse. That's the worst fear anybody could ever have. My biggest fear was anything ever happening to her. And guess what? Marseille's gone. So now that I've faced that and I live it every day, and it sucks. I have to be brutal like that with myself sometimes in order to keep to shock myself into reality sometimes, because it's, trust me, you don't want to know the full story of what happened. All I'll tell you is it was traumatic to the brain, my brain, okay? And sometimes it's a bit of a shock to the system, and you need that to keep you in check. At least that's how I do it. Maybe I'm a little bit rougher on myself. Maybe it's the basic training, boot camp training. I don't know, whatever. I'm just I've always been like this. So if I keep myself, I stay frosty that way. I keep myself from, forgetting. Keeps me on point. Anyway, I faced my biggest fear, ladies and gentlemen. I faced it. Let me tell you something. When you come out the other side of things like that, you're different. I said to Joe about a week afterwards, I said, I'm not afraid of anything anymore. I'm really not. And when I say that, I'm not afraid of shit. No, I mean, I'm not afraid. None. Death doesn't scare me. I don't want to die anytime soon because I have a lot of things to do. But it doesn't frighten me. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it, except it's just like it was removed from me. So I faced my biggest fear, right? It's almost like the litany against fear. I have it tattooed on my thigh. A big scroll, old-fashioned looking scroll. My friend did it like 10 years ago. It's one of the reasons I recite this for you, which I'm going to do right now. It's from Frank Herbert's Dune. But it's something that I like to recite and throw out there because it helps people get through dark, rough times. And it's actually something I can honestly tell you, I actually lived it. I experienced it myself. And there is nothing on the other side except you. You can get through the fear and the darkness. Trust me. It's not, oh my God, I can't beat it. No, you can. I know it looks scary. I know that mountain looks huge. I know it looks like Everest. But trust me, you will get over it. Here's the litany against fear. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, if you face your fears, if you don't run from them, if you face the monsters that are out there, the scariness, the darkness, if you stand your ground, I promise you, you will come out the other side a stronger person. The fear will not kill you. It will not destroy you. But you have to face it. If you try to run from it, you'll never be free. You always have that anxiety. You always have that wondering, oh, what if... And it takes a lot to do it. It's not something you just do overnight and poof, it's done. It takes time, but you have to make the decision. It's like anything else. It's like quitting smoking. Just like quitting smoking. Very horrible. Quitting fear is addictive, just like smoking. Very bad for your health. But it's hard to let go. So you got to do it a little bit at a time, right? Some people, me, I quit cold turkey. But you know what the one thing that binds all the different ways of quitting fear or smoking? What's the one underlying current that binds all of them? Choice. You have to be willing to do it. You have to be ready inside yourself to do it. So whether you want to quit smoking or quit fear, you have to be the one that's ready to do so. You have to find the strength inside yourself. It's there. I wouldn't be here telling you. Trust me. Again, I was at my darkest point, and all I needed was a reminder about my strength. So I'm here trying to remind you about yours, ladies and gentlemen. I have the utmost faith in you, or else I wouldn't be here talking to you. I don't get paid for this. We're going to break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. So, as I was saying in the first segment, do not give up on yourselves. I know the world is really dark and scary. I know right now it's like, you know what? Screw it. I give up. What's the point? F it. I'm just going to ride it out. But that's what evil wants, right? If you want to break it down to bad versus good, very simple terminology. I mean, I do believe that there is evil in the world, and I believe that evil does drive a lot of this bad stuff. I believe that there is evil energy. I've seen evil with my own two eyes in many ways, shapes, and forms. So, I know it's real. This is a spiritual war for your souls, for my soul, for your children's souls. I may not have kids. Just because life hasn't deemed it in the cards for me to have children of my own. I have a niece. She's about 3 years old. A little bit older. 3.5, somewhere around there. My little munchkin. She's got chubby little cheeks. I love that kid. I refuse to leave her a world of crap. Uncle Popeye ain't doing that. Not happening. You should all ask yourselves, what kind of world do you want to leave your grandchildren, your children, your nephews, your nieces? Even if you don't have kids. I have friends that have kids. You think I want to leave my friends' kids crappy world? No. We need to do something. Not just sit back and be afraid. What can we do, Popeye? You have to learn to live in love, not live in fear. That's one. That's why I'm talking about this tonight. You have to learn to live in love, not fear. And I promised you I was going to play some clips from Dr. Bruce Lipton. They're not very long. They're quick. And I've played these before, but it's important and imperative that I actually play these and you hear them, because what he has to say is truth. And for a lot of the new listeners, especially since I'm in a new time slot, you will benefit. And I promise you, this is not the end-all, be-all broadcast on this subject. You need to go do more research. I don't want you to just tune into my show, by the way, and be like, Popeye said it, so it must be true. Please don't do that. Please. I don't get paid to do this. I come on air to speak to you from my heart and to try to better humanity. And the way that humanity is going to get better is if you actually go do some of the research yourself. Don't just believe it because I said it to you. I'm not Superman, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a superhuman. I'm just like you. Except I have a big mouth. And I'm not afraid to use it. Anyway, here's Dr. Bruce Lipton on living in love versus living in fear. And it's for your own personal health. And remember, like I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, you can't learn to love the world unless you learn to love yourself. You can't take care of the world and heal the world unless you take care of and heal yourself first. So you got to learn to love yourself, live in love, not fear, and then you can put that vibe out to the rest of the world. Here's Dr. Bruce Lipton.
It's really interesting to understand the difference in the dichotomy between living in love and living in fear. And it's best illustrated if I put cells in a petri dish and I put nutrients in front of the cells will move to the nutrients. But if I put toxins in front of the cells move away from the toxins. The significance is when you're in a growth situation, which is really what love represents, you're open because growth is open to the world and you assimilate things, and that's where growth comes from. Protection is just the complete opposite. Protection means you're threatened, your life is threatened, and you wall yourself off in protection. So growth is open and protection is closed. Well, the relevance is then you can't be in growth and in protection at the same time. So in our normal history of biology, protection is a necessary part of our survival. Being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, you seriously have to do something about this. So what nature has done is created a protection mechanism. In scientific terms, it's referred to as the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, very complicated, abbreviated as HPA. And what this really represents is the hypothalamus, the part of the brain that does an interpretation. It looks at the world and says, am I in a safe place or am I in a scary place? If the hypothalamus sees that we're in threat of any kind, it sends a signal to the pituitary gland, the master gland, whose signals coordinate the activity of 50 trillion cells. Well, in the case of a threat, the pituitary gland releases hormones that activate the adrenal glands. The adrenal system is referred to as fight or flight. So it's basically a protection mechanism. So I say, okay, great. The HPA axis, hypothalamus sees the threat, pituitary coordinates 50 trillion cells, and the adrenal gland prepares for a protection response. Well, if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, you're going to have to use your arms and legs to run away or fight what you need to do. So the system, when under threat, releases stress hormones from the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland allocates all the energy of the system to run away from the saber-toothed tiger. Well, that means the first thing the adrenal gland activity does is cause the blood vessels in the gut to constrict. This forces the blood, which has the energy, to the arms and legs. But then you have to realize this. The moment you shut down the blood vessels of the gut, this is where growth and maintenance and the necessary control and stability of the body is coming from, the organs of the viscera. So when you're in a moment of threat, you shut down the energy going to this gut because you're allocating the energy to run away. That's one of the first things that happens is we shut down growth and maintenance of the body. And people say, well, growth, I'm an adult, I don't need to grow. And I go, we're made out of 50 trillion cells, but every day we lose billions, hundreds of billions of cells, numbers that are just too big to conceive of, actually. Normal attrition, aging, damage. And so basically it says every day you're losing hundreds of billions of cells. That means by definition, every day you have to replace hundreds of billions of cells. So while you don't see yourself growing, every day you are growing to match what you're losing. So if you shut down the growth of the system, it won't take very long for the system to become in a state of disrepair. Because if you're not maintaining the replacement of those cells, this will lead to sickness and disease. And number two, remember, when the threat is present, the adrenal hormones are released in stress. They shut down the immune system. And this is an effort to conserve energy to run away from the tiger. What's the result of being in a state of protection? The answer is you shut down the growth and maintenance of the body, and you shut down the immune system. Both of these, if sustained for a period of time, will inevitably lead to disease and death. And just refer back again to the nature of why evolution gave us this protection response, to run away from the saber-toothed tiger. But once you run away from it, once you've made it away from that tiger, then the system goes back into growth again. So by nature's understanding, you're only supposed to use the stress system for very short intervals of time because it interferes with the normal functions. And then you look at today's world and we realize 24/7, 365 stress hormones are being released into the system. We read the newspapers, we watch the news, we're concerned about the world and its unfolding. So what was supposed to be only used for a very short time has now become chronic. And the chronic release of stress hormones has resulted in an elevation of the amount of disease and sickness that our planet is experiencing right now. So the significance is we must recover. And then to recover, it says, we must get out of the fear that we live in, because fear kills. It's interesting in regard to the level of health when we're in a state of growth or a state of protection. The level of health is totally a reflection of your vitality. And what we find is just very obvious when people are in love and they express tremendous vitality. But when people are in fear or in protection, the life force seems to be drained out of them. So basically, nature is really trying to tell us to move toward this higher vibration of love, because this is nature's indication that you are sustaining your life.
You understand that, ladies and gentlemen? Do you understand the depth of the profound information that was just heaped upon you? Oh, that sounds kind of new agey, Papa. You know, the secret and love and what are you happy? What are you afraid? You afraid of love? You afraid to show it? You afraid to be good to your fellow humans? We're taught from the time we're little that love sucks. Love is horrible. Right? T-shirts, stickers, tattoo flash, everything. Well, I was with a girl and she broke my heart. Okay, so move on to the next one. Well, I was with two girls and both of them broke my heart. Yeah, I've dated a lot of women in my life, and I've had my heart broken by many of them. Do you don't think, again, I was heartbroken when my wife died? Still am. That pain doesn't go away. Do you think I'm going to stop loving other human beings because of that? No. I'd wither up and die. Literally. And so would you and anybody else out there. Think about it for a second. Think about what Dr. Bruce Lipton said. Don't just blow it off to those of you that might be like, wow, it's kind of new agey. Don't blow it off. Think about it. Isn't your house a happier home when you're being loving to your wife and your wife is being loving to you and you're being loving to your children and your children are being somewhat loving, because children can be children, but you know what I mean? It's a more pleasant household, is it not? How about maybe your work environment? Maybe show your coworkers a little bit of love. You don't have to go up and give them hugs and kisses. Joke around. Some camaraderie. Where do you think that comes from? You love and respect them as a fellow human. Maybe you're not in love with your coworkers, but you love them. You care about them. You should. Why be afraid of caring about a fellow human being? Think about the absurdity of that statement for a minute. Before I get back into that, and before I get deeper into that, there's one other clip I want to play from Bruce Lipton. It's from the movie Kymatica, which you should all go watch with Ben Stewart. It's a great flick. He did a great job. I've had Ben on the broadcast before. Kymatica is a pretty profound documentary. Came out a while ago. In fact, I'm proud to say I was the first person to get it to Google Video back when Google Video still existed. I was the first person to put it up at the request of Mr. Ben Stewart himself, yes. It had I don't know, by the time Google Video got rid of it, it had 30 or 40 million views. And then that's when Google Video just shut down eventually, and they stopped doing Google Video, but wow. That's how long I've been doing this, kiddies, since before YouTube was popular. Anyway, Kymatica. He interviews Dr. Bruce Lipton, and this is a little snippet from it, but I suggest you go watch the whole film. Great, great documentary. Anyway, here we go.
The functions of the body to survive can be broken down to two basic functions for any organism to survive. You have to be able to grow, maintain yourself, take care of your biology, but you also must be able to protect yourself, so that if you're just growing and you can't protect yourself, you'll become food for something else. So the survival involves a balance between growth and protection. Through the history of human civilization and through human evolution, we recognize that our nature is to be in a state of growth, and that our protection is only supposed to be used to, help us out of that threatening moment. You can't be in growth and in protection at the same time. So the significance is, when we see a need of protection, the stress hormones in the body shut off the blood vessels in our viscera or gut, which is the part of the body for growth. Well, the issue is, if you took the blood from the viscera and moved it out to the arms, then you left no blood in the viscera. That means no growth. But you're ready to fight. And when your fighting is finished, then the blood returns back to the viscera and you grow again. But in the world that we live in today, it's 24/7 fear. So we have a continuous dripping of that stress hormone into the body. It's just dripping all the time, getting us ready to run or fight or flight at any moment at the drop of a hat. We're ready to go because we're on guard. Well, the problem is, what does that mean about your allocation of energy? And it says, we're spending most of our energy in protection. You cannot survive if you're in protection all the time.
And if the parasite can control the nature of the fear, it can then create a fear among us that only it can defend us against. A recent physical manifestation of this comes from Zbigniew Brzezinski, former Secretary of State who also supported President Barack Obama. In his book, The Grand Chessboard, he states, as America becomes an increasingly multicultural society, it may find it more difficult to fashion a consensus of foreign policy issues, except in the circumstance of a truly massive and widely perceived direct external threat. Even the Reichsfuhrer of the Nazi Party, Hermann Göring, sums up this game of supply and demand perfectly when he stated, "The people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders." That is easy. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked and denounce the peacemakers for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same in any country. It also works the same in every individual psyche. Just remember that the false ego has only one desire: to become greater and more powerful than the true self. This illness causes us to believe that we are separate from nature. This is why we see such a rise in the dependency of technology. This is why we see such little stewardship for the earth and the environment. And this is why we see bigotry, racism, sexism, and every other form of discrimination possible that leads to crime, violence, wars, and eventually, the global destruction of the organism. This endless state of fear, confusion, and segregation our world seems to live in is a symptom of the false ego creating a false threat.
What do you think ISIS is? What do you think Ebola is? What do you think any ist, Ola, whatever you want to end it with? What do you think all of these problems, what do you think they are? They're the parasite, the false ego, the powers that shouldn't be, getting you to believe that you need to be afraid 24/7. This parasite gets you to actually believe that you need it to protect you from an imaginary outside boogeyman. That's pretty deep, Popeye. Where have I seen a real-world application of that type of thing? Oh, that's right. ISIS and Al-Qaeda. A boogeyman, if you will. Be afraid, ladies and gentlemen. Be very afraid. Only I can protect you. Let me tell you something. If someone comes up and tells you that you need to be afraid and that only they can protect you from whatever you're supposed to be afraid of, run the other way. That's like used car salesmanship 101. Snake oil salesmanship 101. In fact, Rockefeller not David Rockefeller, their father and his father, and they were all snake oil salesmen. Literally. I've got magic tonic that'll get rid of your hemorrhoids or your flu. Flu shot before the flu shot. Oh, amazing. I have the cure, the tonic. 100 years later, I have the vaccine. Funded by the same scumbags. Coincidence? I think not. They create the problem and then they go, I just happen to have the solution. It's like the Patriot Act. You know, the Patriot Act was already written down. It already existed. I bet you didn't even know this. A lot of people don't know this. The Patriot Act wasn't written after 9/11. A lot of people are like, yeah, it was. No, it was passed after 9/11. The Patriot Act was actually written long before 9/11. It was sitting in a drawer, just waiting. In case we happen to have an event like 9/11. And oh, look at that, a 9/11. They have an Internet Patriot Act sitting in a drawer waiting for an Internet 9/11. And what do you see happening right now? Don't worry, I'm trying to get a date scheduled with my hacker buddies to discuss all this stuff. You know, bring my friend Alex back on from Hack Miami. You guys can look up Hack Miami. They've been in Rolling Stone and a bunch of other magazines the past couple months getting interviewed about all the stuff that they're involved with. Good guys. Anyway, I'll have to bring him back on to talk about what's been going on behind the scenes. Because this is all stuff that him and I talked about. And I played this, the interview that I had him on, by the way. I played it like, I don't know, a month ago. I have to get the archive up. But I played it. I played the interview where he talked about this was going to happen. I went back on purpose, and I was like, look, this is like 2.5, 3 years ago. And I went and I played it, and it's everything that he said was going to happen is happening right now with this cyber war crap. But I digress. You need to stop being afraid. You need to pull yourself out of that fear vibe. Look, you can't just... It's not like you're going to hear this broadcast, right, and be like, well, I'm done. Popeye said not to be afraid, so F it. I'm good to go now. That's not how it works, because as soon as you walk into the store or a bar or a restaurant or whatever, you turn the TV on if you have cable, which I would suggest turning it off, but you have that frequency being pumped out. Even if you are like, I don't believe their crap, it's lies, you can still feel the anxiety. You can still feel it. So subconsciously, you're still being exposed to it. So you need to be reminded of this stuff. You need to constantly keep yourself in check. I do. Like we would say in the military, stay frosty. Stay frosty. Sometimes you got to keep yourself in check. It is what it is. 24/7, you're hit with fear. You're hit with that vibe. So just standing around and going, well, I'm cool, because I heard a radio show that Popeye said. No, you have to live your life in this perspective. It's all about a perspective change. Again, be the change. I'm actually getting that tattooed on the side of my throat next month. That's how much I literally believe in that. The reason why I'm going to put it there is a couple of reasons, but one of the big reasons is it's a conversation starter. And besides, I already have what's called career killer tattoos all over my hands and fingers and everything else. So anyway, I believe in it that much. Be the change. It's about a change of perspective. It's that simple. Because then they can't control you. Because you're not going to be looking at things from the same way. You're not going to be like, oh my God, I don't have any options. What do I do? I'm stuck. I'm in a bad situation where the world is coming down on my head and I don't know what to do. They don't want you to realize that there's more than one answer. How many times have I said, think outside the box? You cannot solve a problem, ladies and gentlemen, with the same level of thinking that created it. So going into trying to solve a problem with fear, is going to come out with garbage. That's going to be the outcome, is garbage. Garbage in, garbage out. Fear is garbage. It's good if you're getting chased, like Dr. Bruce Lipton said, by a saber-toothed tiger, and you need to, perhaps levitate over objects and run like a superhuman being, maybe across the water. That's fine. I understand fear in that aspect. Yes, you need to get away so you don't get eaten. Great white sharks. Totally understand how that would elicit fear. That's not the same thing. And it needs to be turned off. It's only there to get you out of trouble for brief periods of time. It's like using turbo boost constantly. You run out. This is the way it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the reality of things, okay? It's really that simple. It's honestly, truly that simple. I know everybody, oh, well, there's no solution. It's so dark. We have to, there's so many problems. You're right. There are a lot of issues. Let's not say problems. Let's say there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed. But they can all be addressed and handled properly if, A, everybody realizes that, as I always say at the end of the show, the solutions to our problems are an inside job. Meaning, you have the power inside of you. Each one of you has the power inside of you. Okay? You're the solution. There is no dude in a cape. Don't wait for me to come save you, because I'm not going to come save you. I'm a radio show host. I'm a researcher, and I'm just a normal human being like you. I know a lot of people that do radio end up over the years, especially if you've been doing it for a long time or around doing this thing for a long time. People kind of look at you like you're some sort of, I don't know. You get put up on like a pedestal. It's weird. Don't do that with any of us, and don't do that with me. It's not what this is about. This is about just talking to you like I'm your friend. I'm not better than any of you. That's putting me in a class, right? That's how we separate ourselves. I'm not different than you. Look, even Monster says, don't separate yourself, right? Even she's riled up today. Don't allow yourself to be pigeonholed like that. I'm not better than you just because I do radio. Neither is anybody else. We're all on the same level, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we're going to get through this. That's how we're going to win, if that's what you want to call it. I would say winning would entail humanity just enlightening itself, not being bullied around by a bunch of depraved individuals, and moving on, maybe exploring space, the oceans, things like that. It would be nice. It'd be nice, but we have to evolve one step at a time. First thing we have to do is learn to live in love, not live in fear. You with me? That's what I thought. All right. Hour number 1 is up. Hour number 2 coming up when we come back. I'm going to be starting off hour 2 with one of your all-time favorite audio clips. It's inspirational. You know you all love it. It needs to be put out there. I'll see you in 3 minutes. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I love all of you. I believe in all of you. Stay tuned.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.
President John F. Kennedy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Either we heal as a team, or we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen, believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's That's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's just a game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's the team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof. Welcome back to hour number 2, ladies and gentlemen, here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye, from FederalJack.com. I wanted to start off hour number 2 with that audio clip for the newer listeners who might not have ever heard it before. We're getting new listeners every day, so always someone new being exposed to my broadcast, and everybody else here at the network. That's just the way it is. It's important for you to hear truth like that. It's important to hear truth, period. But something that powerful, right in your face, yeah, I think it's important enough to give up like 12 and a half minutes of my broadcast for. Some of you might not have ever heard President Kennedy speak those words. Some of you might have a better understanding why they blew his head off in Dealey Plaza 51 years ago, too. Going on 52 this year. Very powerful speech. The reason why I put that clip together is because it kind of tells a story. I like to do narratives sometimes when I try to get a point across. Sometimes it has a way of being extremely powerful. Just like that audio clip. And it tells a story. It sets it up nice for you. Explains everything. You have Kennedy speaking to you, telling you pretty much what's going on, laying it out. And then you have my favorite piece of audio, probably of all time, besides that Kennedy speech. That was my original intro, the second part there. It's called Inches. Payday Monsanto and I took the speech from Any Given Sunday, and I edited it up to fit accordingly to the real world situation. And then Payday added his audio mix magic. That was actually my first intro when I first started doing radio years ago. And when I had my second intro made, when I worked with a good friend of mine, he's been on the broadcast, Mr. Tim Watts. That's the voice of the guy you hear introducing me every night. Tim made my new intro, and I took the old intro, and I took the audio from it, and instead of discarding it, I kept it for a reason. I used it for a reason because it was inspirational to begin with. So I attached it I took these 3 separate pieces of audio and I put them together in order to tell you a narrative in the hopes of inspiring you, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a fictitious narrative, it's truthful. It's very honest and open, actually. That's why it's so powerful. But it's a narrative nonetheless, and that's the reason I laid it out that way, to kind of, I don't know, stories are used throughout culture to pass messages, to give information, to inspire people to do this, that, or the other thing. So that is what I was hoping to do with it, and I know it is a very powerful thing. So, staying in the vein of tonight's broadcast, the second half, I have another piece of audio for you I'm going to play. But first I want to reiterate something to you all, because it's important that I go over this, 101 times, not just 100 times, but that 101th time, if that's or I guess 101st would be the 101th. Whew. Yes, Popeye went to public school, ladies and gentlemen, so even though I am insightful, sometimes I say stupid things. That would be 101st, genius. Thank you. Maybe that 101st time will inspire you to not live in fear, and will push you over the top, as it were. That's what we need. We need people to be inspired and not be afraid. This world needs more people that are willing to stand up and just speak truth. Stand up and take care of one another. Just face the darkness. Face their fears. Everybody's so afraid right now. Everybody is starting to clamp back down again. I'm seeing it. I'm watching the right-wingers, right? The so-called right-wingers, they're already starting to line up behind their supposed candidate in 2016. It's like the same game is just playing out over and over and over again. Their fear of losing, their status quo even further. Can't let another Democrat get in. That'll be the end of the country. Because putting Mitt Romney or George Bush, or I guess not George, Jeb Bush, whatever Bush, putting any Bush or Romney or any of these other scumbags in, because that's going to change something. No, it will, Popeye. This time, right? This time will be the one. Yeah, every other time didn't work. This time will be the one time it goes differently. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to look up the definition, I got the word out, of insanity. Go look it up. Go look up the actual definition of the word. It means repeatedly doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. That's what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen. No, I promise you, Romney and McCain and Rand Paul and Ted Cruz, they're going to form an alliance and we'll call it the Super Friends and they're going to save everybody. Who else is in there? Marco Rubio, he'll come in and save the day too with his cape on with a big M on the back. Ladies and gentlemen, these people aren't going to save you. They're not going to save you. Well, yeah, they will. Papa, we talk about the Democrats are the reason the problem in police state. And yeah, Democrat police state, right. That's why you guys are all for it, right? As long as it's not used against you. I see people that were against the police state rooting for it. Well, in case there's riots. Why? Because black people were rioting? Genius. And you've been divided on that level so that it's okay as long as it's not white people or people in your neighborhood? Because you buy into this faux race war that's being put out there to, again, what? Divide, separate, keep everybody in fear of each other. There's black people walking down the street. Are they going to mug us? And the black people are like, man, these white people are going to think I'm going to mug them and call the cops on me and get me shot. Right? Right? I mean, and this country wasn't like this, by the way. Like, this isn't the country I grew up in. This racial tension is being fomented by them as a reason to control you, as a method to control you. Oh my God, black people are going to riot. We should, this is the conservatives, we should have them MRAPs. 6 months ago you didn't like them though, liberty lovers, huh? Freedom! Like Mark Passio says, it's the My Freedom movement. When it's your freedom, it's all good, but when it's someone else's freedom, they should be damned. It's a game, ladies and gentlemen. We keep playing it. When I say we, I mean the proverbial we, not meaning me literally, but we as humanity. Humanity keeps playing it. Let's find someone in a suit with lots of money and connections to all these secret societies and roundtable groups. They'll save us. Every other one was a shitbag, but the next one, he'll be great, we promise. Okay. I'll give it one more chance. What are we, an abused wife? That's what I really equate us to. This country is suffering, honestly, from massive PTSD. We are an abused wife on, like, a scale that you can't even comprehend. The powers that shouldn't be are the husband beat the crap out of us, they slap us around, then they tell us they love us, and that they only do it because they love us, and we go crawling back to them. When are we going to do what Jennifer Lopez did in the movie Enough? And learn how to fight? And then kick the living shit out of the guy that was beating her? I'm just using that as a physical representation so you can get an idea, okay? Do you want to stay in this abusive relationship, or do you want to do something about it? The way to be the Jennifer Lopez character in that movie would be to educate yourself on your true power. Boom, you just broke free. That is it. You just did your kung fu. You're done. You don't even need to fight physically. That's the beauty of this. Once you realize your true potential, your true strength, it's over. It's game over for them. That is it. That is it. I don't care how many tanks they have, what kind of machinery they have. If mankind levels up, okay, and just realizes and starts taking better care of each other, meaning a change of perspective, that means that, think about this for a second. If you understand the profound implications of that, that means that the cops wouldn't have that same mentality towards you, so they wouldn't do what they do. The military wouldn't be willing to fight you because they wouldn't have that same mentality. Mankind wouldn't be allowing itself to be used like animals. That's what the elites call us. They call the general public the walking dead because people are so disconnected from themselves. They're like zombies. I wonder why there's so many zombie movies out there. That's what they look at society as. And the cops in the military, they call them their pets. Why do you think we have dog tags when we're in the military? You think I'm kidding? I've had Mark Passio on talking about this. We're their pets. That's a nice thought. I'm not anybody's pet. I don't know about you, but I am not anybody's pet. I'm certainly not the Walking Dead. But that's what they think of you. That's how they think about humanity. Yet these are the same people that you go to try to save you. That's why it's this perpetual cycle of insanity. They want you to have a bloody revolution. They want you to fight. That's why they're trying to egg everybody into a fight. Because they can control that outcome. The outcome they can't control is everybody starts actually loving each other again and starts connecting on another human level again. They can't stop that. That's something they can't control, and that scares the living crap out of them. It scares them to the nth degree that they can't control humanity on that level. They can try as they may. They can brainwash you into thinking love sucks and love is evil. But somehow, the power of it always seems to shine through. Because that's what love is. It's light. It's that energy. It's where we come from, whatever. I don't want to call it heaven, because that's, again, mankind's almost Christian view of things, right? Whatever dimension, wherever our energy goes, okay, after here, there was only love and light. There was no hate or anger. There is none of that. Losing someone very close to you gives you a very different perspective on things. I don't fear death, like I said. It's weird. Not afraid of it anymore. But I'm not ready to go anytime soon either, because I have too much to do. But the point is, don't be afraid of that, because they use that. We'll beat you down and kill you. They're bullies. Death, violence, death. That's what they do. That's how they control you. Do what I tell you, or death, or violence. Death or violence. It doesn't matter what they're saying. I'll lock you up. I'll do this. It's all just, it's like walk, 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 death, violence. Walk, 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 walk. Charlie Brown's teacher. Walk, 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 death, violence. Walk, 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 walk. That's what it is. That's all you hear. Because they're bullies. The police are being used. Don't hate the cops. I know you want to, because they make it real easy to sometimes. Quite often, actually. But don't hate the players, hate the game. They should be held responsible for their actions, don't get me wrong. But don't focus all your anger and your energy there, because that's what the powers that shouldn't be want. It's a game of chess, ladies and gentlemen. We have to understand that we have to stop playing the game. We're all on the same team. Police, if you run around and you say to, man, these freaking civilians, they're all scumbags. You're a civilian, genius. You're not in the military. It's either civilian or military. You're not military. You're a civilian peace officer. Well, that's what you're supposed to be. But even if you call yourself police, you're still a civilian, genius. So don't be trying to... See what they do? They get the brainwashing. They get you to separate yourself. Well, I'm not a civilian. Yes, you are. You put on a costume and you go to work for 8 or 10 hours. You put on a little metal badge. You know, I could go out and buy the same costume online. Does that make me any more powerful? Does that make me special? No. It's a glorified Halloween costume that you animate for the state. Does that actually give you your power? Take your costume off and go walk around without your costume on in your civilian clothes and try doing the exact, with no cop car, again, because that's part of the costume. Take all of that off and drive around in your own personal car trying to pull people over in your civilian, with no gun, no none of that, just in your civilian attire. Find out if that gives you any power, because you can't have your badge or your gun because that's part of your costume. So all that has to go away. Your personal car, no weapons, no badge, no identification as a quote-unquote police officer. Drive around in your civvies. And then go and tell me if you can pull somebody over and still do the same thing. Go tell me if you can beat somebody in the face and have their friends sit back and watch and not do anything because they don't want to get arrested or shot. No. Ain't gonna happen. So it's a costume. Once you start to realize that, and you realize that you're the same level that we are, things will change. And for the people that hate on the cops and want to battle them, that's the opposite side of the coin. You can't hate on them that much. You have to understand this is... I know you're angry. We have to focus the anger at them in a good way. But don't hate on them to the point where they're the problem. Meaning, well, it's the cops are the problem. No. It's the training that they're receiving. You can't just blame the guys. I mean, yes, they're responsible for their actions, but you can't just blame the people that are doing what they're trained. They're Pavlovian dogs. Would you blame the dog for doing what it was trained? If you trained a dog to fetch a ball, or better yet, you have an attack dog, would you blame the dog if the dog attacked somebody that was trying to break into your house or on your property, or somebody that you sick? Even better, you just sick the dog on somebody and it attacks them. Then you go, oh, bad dog. Well, that's what the powers that shouldn't be are doing. Yeah, the dog's responsible for attacking you, but technically it's been trained, obedience training, to do that. You have to understand the game, ladies and gentlemen. To understand the game. Okay, stay tuned. We'll be right back. 3 quick, short minutes, and then I have one last piece of audio for you. Russell Means. Very powerful stuff. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment of tonight's live edition, DTRH. Again, this is not the end-all, be-all broadcast on this subject. I suggest you just do more research about love versus fear, growth versus protection. Look up Bruce Lipton on YouTube. There's plenty of talks that he's done. Go watch Kymatica. Go enlighten yourself. Expand your consciousness. Help heal the planet and make this place a better world. There's a bunch of little kids out there that are depending on us to leave them a much more enlightened humanity. I know a lot of people don't think it's possible. They think that it's impossible. Maybe I believe in a fairy tale. I don't know. But I see humanity's potential. I haven't lost my faith in you people yet. Sometimes it's tested. I won't lie. There are times that my faith in humanity is tested to the nth degree. But I won't give up on you guys. I won't. Because I understand that humanity's been dumbed down on purpose, so I know that it's still got potential. I know that there's a possibility. Quantum physics. Infinite possibilities. It's where we choose to measure it that particle appears. Remember that. You create your own reality. It's where you choose to measure the particle that it appears, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I did a show last year on quantum physics. Go back in my archives over on federaljack.com. And in the archive section, just go to Federal Jack and up in the search bar, just type in DTRH, quantum physics. That's fine. DTRH, quantum physics. That should bring up the two tags. That should cross-reference it enough in the search to bring up the show I did. It's in the archives. Really good show. There's tons of documentaries you need to go watch about it to have a better understanding. Look, in order to have a comprehension of the things that I say sometimes, this is the stuff that you must ingest into your brain and compute. I'm not telling you, well, you have to go do it because I told you. No, in order to understand what I meant, you have to understand what I'm talking about. And that's what I'm talking about. So, anyway. Love versus fear. Do you think you can actually live in that, ladies and gentlemen? Do you think you can actually emulate that? I do. Again, I'll use my personal example again. I was in my darkest of places. I was on my knees. All right, if you must know how I felt like I had a sword shoved through my chest. Right through my heart. Yet, I could not physically die. Which was actually a fate worse than death, right? If you think about it, because I was left feeling the feeling of having, my heart stabbed through, run through, as they would say, with a sword. I was on my knees, slowly going out almost. Not giving up like, oh, I quit, I'm going to suicide. Nothing like that. Just very dejected, very hard to find motivation, hard to find energy. Alone, feeling disconnected from the whole world. I understand how humanity feels right now. I get it. Trust me. Been there. But you know what? Even when I thought there existed nobody on the planet that could help me, or even knew where I was, because that's what it really felt like nobody knew where I was, nobody understood, nobody felt that I was lost, nobody could see or recognize that I was lost, because I was actually pretty good at hiding it. One person did. And as I said in the first hour, she came and she rescued me. She saved my ass. I would still be in trouble if it weren't for her. Because she came and she saw that I needed just a little bit of love. How hard was that? She's got her hands full. She's got her whole own life. Yet she still took the time out just to check on me, make sure I was okay, and talk to me. And let me ramble for hours about anything. Just to make sure I was okay. Just by doing that and helping me, and just like having someone to talk to, helped me pull myself out of that. Helped me pull that sword out of my chest, so to speak. Imagine what you could do for somebody, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine the effect you could have, the change in someone's life you could have just by being there for them. Just by being a friend and showing them love. That's it. Imagine the effect I speak from personal experience. It's very powerful. So if you look at humanity now as like a bigger representation of what I went through, right? My personal experience. Imagine if more and more people come in with light and love and they do what was done for me. Humanity can get lifted out of the darkness. It's that simple. I've lived it. I've lived it. I deal with it every day still. Every day. It's not something that's going to go away. Tomorrow I'll blink my eyes and it'll go away. I have to deal with it for the rest of my life. But yet, I know I can now. Before, I didn't think I could, to a certain extent. It was really rough. It was hard. Told you, even coming on air and talking to you guys for a half hour. Like I went on with Chris and Cherie the first time for I think 25 minutes or 30 minutes, and I was drained physically. I just could not do it. I wasn't even capable of receiving. People were trying to give me, outpouring of love and affection because of my loss, and I couldn't even feel it. I was just turned off. It's like the sword and the stone. And then along came my friend Jamie, and because of that, I learned something very profound. I did. That even when you think that you're at your lowest, when you're on your knees, when you think that it can't get any worse and that the world is going to end as you know it, because that's where I was at a certain extent. My world had ended. It was done. But it's not really done, is it? It was that fear and that darkness that were encroaching over top of me and taking over and pounding me into the ground. I put that quote on Facebook the other day. It's from, was it Rocky 3, 4, 5, 6, 18, whatever number they're on, the one with the kid. Where he says, no one's going to hit you as hard as life, and it'll beat you down and to your knees and keep you there if you let it. It's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep going. About how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. It's the truth. So don't give up. Don't think that even though it's really dark and it's scary outside right now, and oh my God, the world is a dark, scary place, Popeye. What do we do? Pull the covers up over my head and just kiss my ass goodbye. No. They want you to do that. That's what bullies want. They want you to think there's no light in the darkness. There is. Be each other's light, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to have Superman come in and save you with a cape on. We have to save each other. We have to be good to each other. We have to love one another again. Again, I'm a living example of it. All it took was a friend to give a crap enough about me to make sure I was okay and to talk to me and show me just a little bit of love. And look where I am. Amazing. Now maybe if more of us could do that, if the rest of the world could do that, what did I say about Merce? She would go out and she helped the little old Spanish lady across the hall just because it was the right thing to do. That's showing your fellow human love. We have to take care of each other. We hate each other. We attack each other. We hate ourselves. Humanity's a problem. We're a disease. I mean, the powers that shouldn't be have literally convinced us to hate ourselves and be our own worst enemies. And we attack one another. We need to stop that. That's how they control us. As soon as we stop that and we realize that we need to be good to one another and just take care of each other and we treat each other differently, change of perspective, game over for them. It's done. They can't control that. They can't control that. They can't control that. How many times I have to say this? I know for some reason people think that the solution to the problem is $19.95 plus shipping and handling, but it's not. Okay? The solution lies inside of you. It's called loving your fellow human being. Unconditionally. Just being there for them and being good to them. taking care of one another. That's something that they can't control, and they fear that. Because if we're not living in fear and we're living in love, if we're living in growth, not protection, they can't control that. Then you're going to have a rational thought and be like, wait a minute, wait, hold up. Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and the Foot Clan all look the same. Why are the bad guys in my reality right now dressed like the Foot Clan in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie? Something is wrong here. I'm not afraid of the Foot Clan coming to get me. Do you understand what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? A little bit of rational thought, little bit of growth, not protection, and you're like, whoa, something's rotten in the town of Denmark, I tell you. Think about it. Think about it for just one little second. Here's an experiment. I've said this before. How about you make every decision in your life for, you don't have to do it a week, we'll do 5 days. 5 days. Every decision in your life based solely on fear. See how well that turns out for you. Tell me how well you think that's going to turn out, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think it's really going to turn out well? Because I don't. It's not. We have to learn to overcome that fear. Look, fear is part of what we have to deal with, right? It doesn't go away. It's not lack of fear that gives you courage. It's mastery of it. It's having it and being able to overcome it. You're going to have to deal with it. You can't just put... People get upset because they're like, well, these other people put away the fear. No, they don't. They just learn to overcome it and move past it. They don't let it control them. They control their fear. That's the key. Now, before I run out of time, because I know it's going to be like 9 minutes for this thing, I think it's about 8.5, 9 minutes. I want to play this piece of audio for you. So this is Russell Means, and this is his last interview ever. This is when he was talking with his wife, and this is a couple months before he passed away. And this is about his wife and him are talking about gender roles inside the Native American community, but they're also talking about the sacred feminine and feminine energy, which is very, very important to this whole topic and this whole discussion. And I mean, I have to do a whole separate show on that in and of itself, but I want to play this for you really quick. So here we go. Check it out.
Well, I think it's important to understand, to begin with, gender roles are important. I know in Western society that's looked frowned upon, but in indigenous societies, we have very real gender roles that we adhere to. So that's how we begin to define who we are, what our responsibility is, and create the boundaries for that.
In your way, what is the feminine role and what is the masculine role?
Well, we're charged with giving life, maintaining life, sustaining life. So that involves wellness, emotional wellness, nurturing, the foods that we feed ourselves and our families, the responsibility of nurturing our children, and recognizing that our men need nurturing. Nurturing is a natural, inherent characteristic for women because we are capable of giving life. With a male, it has to be learned. So we recognize that with our men and our young males. So the first few years of a young male's life is surrounded by the mother, the aunties, the grandmother, so that they can feel and learn of the nurturing and the love before they go off to become a boy and a young man.
And within your marriage, if you could just briefly talk to us about what is the balance within your marriage with the masculine and the feminine, or the matriarchal and the patriarchal?
Well, because we recognize the difference, we honor the differences, we can celebrate the differences. I recognize my husband's strengths, and I try not to argue with that. And at the same time, my husband recognizes and celebrates my strengths. So it eliminates any competition. And males, we know, are very pragmatic. They are very strategic thinkers, problem solvers, and that's what they're charged with. And because we as women, we have an inherent power that you can't necessarily see or define, but you can feel it. And when you operate within that power, and that's very much respected in indigenous societies. In fact, in Western society, women after the second change of life are discarded. Yet in our societies, that's when we really become fully recognized and celebrated. And because we're at that point coming from a perspective of experience, we're no longer dealing with the hormonal changes and imbalances. So we're able to be more critical thinkers. And we always maintain that woman power that guides us and directs us. So we really hold a celebrated part in our society, as well as our relationships amongst our families. The clans, the individual, normally it's the eldest female of that clan has the last word. So there's a lot of respect.
What we could learn from that. Mr. Means, tell me about your wife's strength.
Well, first I want to say something about men go from diaper to diaper. Simple fact. You need a woman at the beginning of life to take care of you, and at the end of your life. And if you're foolish enough not to recognize that throughout your life, you'll never know love. As a male, you'll never know love. And that's the one thing I appreciate. You know, a mother's love doesn't stop with her children. It goes to her mate. And to be a recipient of that deep love that is stronger than I could ever hope to be. Wow. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. And recognizing that as a male, I will always, throughout every portion of my life, need nurturing. You know? And you can't get it by yourself. You can't get it from the mirror. You can only get it from your life mate. And like I say, I'm so blessed. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. But at least with my pearl, the great mystery has watched over me. And you know, I'm a typical little boy. I struggle against some of her wisdoms. And no, I don't want to do it that way. And then I start feeling a little bit sheepish, and I realize she was right. Yeah? So I make a decision based on that. The guidance that the females give to the male never stops from diaper to diaper. And the women do not go from diaper to diaper. They go from diaper to a full flowering of beauty. We men, we have a shorter life expectancy. So that's why indigenous society, matriarchal societies, matrilineal way of living, is based on a lot of intricacies. For instance, men do not marry until their feet, their mature body is firmly planted on the ground. They have their path ahead of them for the rest of their life. Then they look for a woman. A contemporary woman? No, that woman's already been married and had kids. He looks for the young woman who is entering her first budding of flowerhood to marry, because in matrilineal living, you understand you're going to live a shorter life. Who's going to take care of you? You need a mother at all times. Now, to a patriarch, that sounds primitive. That sounds ridiculous. And even to the female patriarch, that sounds ridiculous. What, do you give us all the work and all the responsibility? Hey, you're the only human being that goes through 2 changes of life. It gets more beautiful with each stage of your life. We men don't get to go through that. We don't get to understand the completeness of nurturing. You know, we never outgrow our childhood.
Powerful stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Every time I do these broadcasts about living in love, not living in fear, I always make sure I play that and put that in there. Russell Means' last interview. Very profound, the sacred feminine, the topic of it. That clip doesn't do it justice either. You really have to look it up and do more research on the subject. The world itself, why don't I play that? Because the world itself, we want to heal the world, right? We want to make it a better place. Well, part of that making it a better place is maybe if we didn't refer to women all the time as bitches and hoes, right? And we started to respect them a little more for the energy and what they bring to the table, the feminine energy, and actually what they're capable of versus what we are. The world would change. I'm not saying that, we should have a female president, go Hillary Clinton. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not backing feminism. That's anybody that would think that, again, that's all garbage. I'm saying change of perspective. We start to respect our women better as men. Women, you start to respect your men better as women. We respect each other's differences, and we embrace each other's differences. How about that? And then from there, we can maybe do that on the rest of the world with each other. And I mean every difference. So if, you have political differences, too bad, deal with it. Respect each other for it. If someone's gay and you're straight and you don't believe in that lifestyle, well, that's not your problem. That's someone's sexual preference should not be something that keeps you divided as a human being. I'm not saying you have to go have sex with that person. I'm saying that shouldn't be something that keeps you from getting to know somebody, whether or not they're a decent individual. Their sexual preference is none of your damn business. Let's be honest. It's just another way to separate you. There's so many levels, ladies and gentlemen, of separation. Maybe if we could just figure out the levels of getting back together. That's why I try to focus. I know I used to focus a lot on the negative, and I still woodshed, and I still will take people to the woodshed and rip things apart, but this world needs to heal. It needs some positive light. It needs some love. Some people don't want to talk about this. Maybe they're, it's icky or whatever. They're afraid to. Maybe they're afraid to seem like a wimp. I'm not. I don't care. And maybe I can use my perspective of what I've gone through to help change the world for a better place. Let's hope so. I believe in you all, ladies and gentlemen. I really do.
This is Sparta!
Stand up and believe in yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. As I always tell you, the solutions to our problems are an inside job. I believe in you. The hosts here at TFR believe in you. And I know there's thousands of people around this world, millions, that believe in you as well. Believe in yourself. I love you all. I'm out of here.